already what some of these solutions are, but let's just go through them. So initially we need to have better risk management and also better planning for scope at the beginning of the project. The things that I talked about in the problems that we underestimated, such as the dependencies, for example, such as multiplayer, enough time to test that, and the other areas, were things that we should have caught in pre-production and dealt with there. So we're a lot wiser there. Some of those things, of course, were unknowns because it's a new platform, and it's difficult to account for those particular issues that we know nothing about because nobody's worked on that before. We needed a better filing plan in post-production. We needed a better estimate for bug fixing. More realistic alpha data period is what I'm talking about. And generally for iOS projects, iPhone and iPad's great. The SDK, just when anybody can get on there and start messing with it, it's wonderful. It's great that it's so open. But we have a tendency to underestimate the amount of time. It is really serious game development. It's not an amateur playfield. And we need to treat it seriously. Treat it much more so than you might think. More iPads, as we mentioned. It would be great if we had those. The implementation of the art. Sometimes we implemented art before we actually had sign-off. The producer on the project was away a lot, doing a lot of promotion for the project, and it took a while for us to get sign-off on the art direction. And so we were concerned about the amount of time we had to do the project, and it was forge ahead. The philosophy was, let's make sure that we move forward so we can hit our dates. But it caught us a few times because when the producer came back and showed some of the art to senior execs, they went, our idea is a little bit different. And so we had to go back and redo things more times than we should have, really. And the multiplayer issues we already talked about. More time for that. More thorough scoping of features. Technical estimates were too low when it came down to it. Better planning on the visual side and more iteration on the gameplay. Especially on completely unique modes, such as the vintage voltage game itself. People should be regular checking their work. It seems like it should be second nature for that, to make that statement. But again, when people are stressed for time and they really want to get their particular code done or their art done, everyone should check everything thoroughly before you check it in. If you check things in without checking those with a proofing before you do that, mistakes will happen. Even things like file names not being right is going to cause havoc to the build. And it's very important to do that before you check in yourself. Trust your gut. If you feel that something is not quite right, regardless of the situation, bring it up to the publisher and dig in your heels. And you have to be careful about this when you're working with a publisher, of course, because they're basically paying you on a milestone basis. But if you really feel that something is an issue that's not quite right, that's not there yet, even if the publisher signs off on it, find a different way to approach it. Find a different way to sell that idea, sell your concept to the publisher on how you can improve it and why it's important for the game. You need to think, when you're dealing with a publisher, you need to think like the publisher. Okay? You need to put the publisher hat on and go, how's the publisher thinking about this? And what can I do, what can I say to motivate that publisher to see my perspective and how it will make this a better game? And the bottom line for the publisher is great ratings and sell more units. So whenever you're going to recommend to the publisher, you have to say, here's how it's going to sell more units. Here's how it's going to improve the ratings of this game. Okay? If it doesn't, if it won't do that, then the publisher's not going to pay attention to that. Respect internal milestones. The way we structure our scheduling is we have internal milestones that are in advance of external milestones. So if the milestone is on a Friday, our internal milestone will be on a Wednesday. And so we push to make sure that particular milestone is hit on Wednesday. So if there are any issues that we haven't foreseen, we've got a little bit of padding in there so that by the time we do have to ship it to the publisher, we won't be late. And what will happen typically is, maybe some of you artists won't like this, but artists will always be trying to push the envelope and going, oh yeah, I know I got to get this in. And yeah, I'm supposed to get this in by 3 o'clock today, but I got an idea it's going to be so much better. And it's going to be worth it. And so, by 4 o'clock on Thursday, it's still not done. And then the programmer has to stay late and integrate that art into the build. And then the artist maybe have named the file wrong, and we're all trying to figure out what it's not building. And here it is, Friday, 6 o'clock, and everybody's sweating. Okay? So one of the things we could have done better is to really respect that internal milestone in order to have a smoother process. And more QA. We should have had more QA budgeted. Yesterday somebody was talking about QA. QA is extremely important, but we should have had a lot more QA on this particular project. Better build machine, better instructions on use of that build machine, better analysis of nice-to-have features versus must-have. And this is getting back to my point about selling the publisher. You need to really analyze, is this a nice-to-have or is this a must-have? And the way we do it at Koolhaus is we just get up there and put it up on the board and just really, really cut and dry, is this really a must-have feature or not? And discuss that and go forward. Better scoping and risk management, especially for networking and also multiplayer. We should have front-loaded more. And this is something that we can constantly learn in project management, is that you should always try to front-load, especially your higher risk tasks at the beginning of the project. We could have done a better job of managing that. And tightening up our milestone delivery and approval process with our publisher. We have a great relationship with EA, Mobile in LA. We have worked on a lot of projects for them. We are still working currently on some projects for them right now that are coming out in the first quarter of next year. Have a great relationship with them, but you can always improve on that. And you should always be looking for ways to improve it. Implementing the UI with the game as opposed to at the end was something that we should have done. And it seems, hey, it's just the UI, but the UI is very, very important. We underestimated the importance of UI in this particular game. It's a large screen, UI front end is very important. Better technical plan at the beginning of the project. Better risk analysis on the technical side of things for the things already mentioned. And we also, there's a comment here from somebody on the team, we need to develop our next group of managers, the next group of leads. Not because the current ones aren't any good, obviously this was a well-managed project, but it's time for us to grow some more people and to move them up into different roles. So then here's a really great nugget. Somebody, at every CSA, every critical stage analysis process that we do, there's always a little nugget, a little morsel that somebody that puts in. Like this one. One of our team members wrote, eat well, get exercise, smell the flowers, and repeat. And yes, those are some of our employees up there. And here's one. Sometimes we have breakfast. Here's a breakfast that we have.
Strawberry yogurt. Oh, yummy. Yum, yum.
I'm hungry for yogurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, now it's all over the table. That's all over the table. Nico's new name is the Ishy Squishy Kid. Oh! Boomba.
So this is a normal breakfast at Koolhaus. It's actually my daughter. She was 2 at the time. She's 3 now. So the question is, why should we eat well and exercise and so on and so forth? Well, because you don't want to live like this. And it's important to remember these kinds of things. And like I say, the CSA process is great because every once in a while we get a really nice nugget like this. We all work hard in this industry, we know that. It's a lot of fun what we do. And sometimes we have to put in a lot of hours, but we have to sometimes also remind ourselves of a balanced work-life balance. And at Koolhaus, we always talk about that, and we practice what we preach. Some other places don't, unfortunately. And we see people coming from other studios that when they're walking down the street, they're open like this, we know what's going on there.